One truck had its engine control unit permanently destroyed and had to be towed out of the chamber. Not one of those 37 vehicles had a single component inside it designed to resist what just happened. And the Commission admitted in its report to Congress that the test simulator could not even reach the energy levels of an actual high-altitude detonation. They tested below the worst-case scenario, and vehicles still failed. Now let me take you back to the exact moment the automobile industry made your car vulnerable on purpose. Before 1975, ignition systems in American vehicles ran on a mechanical system called points and condensers. A physical metal contact inside the distributor housing opened and closed to fire the spark plugs with zero digital circuitry. No chips anywhere in the drivetrain, no processors anywhere in the engine bay, no semiconductor components anywhere between the battery terminal and the rear axle. An engine running on a points ignition is not vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse because there are no circuits to destroy. The mechanical parts that move fuel and air through the engine are completely transparent to electromagnetic fields. A 1970 Chevrolet pickup sitting in an open field during a high-altitude detonation would keep running without interruption. The 1975 Clean Air Act changed this equation permanently. Manufacturers needed to meet federal emissions targets that mechanical carburetors could not achieve with the required precision. Electronic ignition arrived first, replacing the points with a transistor module vulnerable to voltage spikes. Then electronic fuel injection replaced the carburetor entirely, adding circuit boards to the intake manifold. Then the first generation of engine control units appeared in the late 1970s, putting a computer inside every engine compartment. By 1990, virtually every car sold in the United States had a management computer that could be permanently destroyed by a strong enough E1 pulse. 50 years of engineering progress created 50 years of electromagnetic vulnerability. Not one line in any owner manual published in the last half-century mentions it. This video is just the surface of what they buried. I have collected everything the automotive electronics industry does not want sitting on your garage shelf, all inside the complete forbidden camping vault. The $7 relay and fuse kit that military logistics units actually use to keep vehicles operational after an electromagnetic event. Fire starting methods that work when every electronic ignition device in your house is dead. Water purification techniques that function with zero electricity and zero commercial filters. Emergency shelter designs that cost nothing and outperform $200 survival tents on every thermal metric. Navigation methods that work when every satellite in orbit goes dark. Off-grid communication systems that do not depend on cell towers or internet infrastructure, and much more. Over 10 guides in one place with zero filler. The link is in the description. But stay right here because the heaviest vault opens next. The $300 billion global automotive electronics industry does not want you thinking about what I am about to show you. Because the solution costs $7, and the problem sells over $65 billion in replacement chips and modules every single year. A modern vehicle contains up to 150 separate electronic control units, according to industry analysts. The automotive chip market alone was valued at over $63 billion in 2025. Every time an electromagnetic event fries a module in your engine bay, someone at a parts counter charges you between $200 and $1,200 for the replacement. That is the business model. Vulnerability is the product. And the $7 tin I am about to show you is the only thing that business model cannot survive. No surge suppressor sold at any electronics store, no matter what the packaging claims, can respond to a 3 nanosecond event. The physics of electrical response time do not allow it, and that gap between 3 nanoseconds and 1 microsecond is the gap between driving and walking. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If these stories, the bell and the subscribe button are the best way to keep this knowledge from being buried again. This is where we crack open the vaults that the automotive and electronics industries bolted shut. Now stay with me because the next part changes everything you think you know about vehicle vulnerability. The reason an electromagnetic pulse destroys modern electronics is not complicated once you strip away the military jargon. A nuclear detonation at high altitude generates a massive electromagnetic field that propagates outward at the speed of light. Every electrical conductor within that field, every wire, every cable, every microscopic trace on every circuit board, collects energy from that expanding wavefront and converts it into electrical current. The longer the wire, the more energy it collects from the field, like a bigger net catching more current. The more modern the chip it feeds into, the smaller the current spike needed to destroy that chip permanently. A processor built in 1975 could absorb a surge that would instantly vaporize a chip manufactured today. Your car has hundreds of feet of wiring bundled into a harness feeding directly into processors with extremely low tolerance for unexpected voltage. When E1 arrives, your entire wiring harness becomes a collection antenna, feeding a simultaneous surge into every control module at once. The United States EMP Commission tested 37 vehicles inside a controlled electromagnetic simulation facility in 2004. Most of them stalled immediately on the test floor. Some required a full battery disconnect and reboot sequence. If you have made it this far, you already know more about electromagnetic vehicle vulnerability than 99% of drivers on the road today. Subscribe and share this with someone who drives a modern car and has never once thought about what happens when the grid disappears. Everything the automotive electronics industry buried is in the complete vault, and the link is in the description. Now stay with me, because this next part is what actually saves your vehicle. Here is the detail that changes what $7 actually buys you. You cannot protect the electronics in a modern car from E1 without sealing the entire vehicle inside a continuous conductive Faraday cage. No gaps, no openings, no external wires passing through the shell. That is the physics requirement for full electromagnetic shielding, and nothing short of total enclosure satisfies it. You obviously cannot put your car inside a Faraday cage, but you can put the replacement parts inside one. And that single distinction is the entire difference between being permanently stranded on a dead highway and being back on the road in under 60 minutes. Military vehicle maintenance units in the field do not attempt to shield their vehicles from electromagnetic pulse. They shield the spare components. The vehicle takes the hit and the electronics get fried. The spare parts inside the shielded container survive completely undamaged. The vehicle gets repaired in the field and rolls out operational. That is not a theory from a survival forum. That is standard operating procedure documented in military logistics manuals. The components most likely to fail permanently in an electromagnetic event are specific and predictable. The ignition relay, the fuel pump relay, the crankshaft position sensor in older vehicles with fewer onboard computers. In most passenger vehicles, those three parts are the entire repair needed to get the engine turning over. Here is the relays come first in your kit. Your engine control unit cannot receive power from the battery unless the ignition relay passes current through to it. Your fuel pump cannot pressurize the fuel rail unless the fuel pump relay commands it to run. Without both of those relays functioning correctly, your engine will crank endlessly, but will never fire regardless of the condition of everything else under the hood. Two relays located in the fuse box under your hood or under your dashboard depending on the vehicle model. Replacement cost for the pair runs between $3 and $7 at any AutoZone or O'Reilly Auto Parts counter. Your specific relay part numbers are stamped directly on the relay housing itself and matched to the diagram printed on the inside of your fuse box cover. Write those numbers down. Order the spares before you ever need them. Now here is how to build the kit, and the container matters more than anything inside it. Find a metal tin with a metal lid that closes completely with no plastic components anywhere in the seal. Not a plastic body with a metal lid. Not a metal body with a plastic hinge. Not a metal container with a rubber gasket that breaks the conductive path. Entirely metal and completely enclosed when shut. A metal cookie tin from any dollar store works. A steel coffee can with a matching steel lid works. A military surplus ammunition can is the ideal choice if you want documented shielding performance. A standard .50 caliber ammo can runs about $14 at any surplus retailer and provides genuine Faraday shielding that meets published military specifications. Now here is the one step that most people skip, and it is the step that makes everything else worthless if you get it wrong. Any parts stored inside the tin must not make direct physical contact with the metal walls of the container. If a relay or a fuse bridges from the contents to the outer metal shell, any energy the shell collects from the electromagnetic field transfers directly through the contact point into the component you are trying to protect. Your shielding becomes a delivery system instead of a barrier. Line the inside of your container with a folded paper towel, a piece of corrugated cardboard, or a thin foam sheet. Electrical isolation between the contents and the container walls is what transforms a metal box from simple storage into a functioning Faraday enclosure. Place both relays inside, wrapped in the insulating layer. Add a complete fuse kit for your specific vehicle, which runs between $3 and $5 and covers every fuse rating your car uses. Close the lid completely so the metal seal is tight with no air gaps. Mark the outside of the tin with your vehicle year, make, and model using a permanent marker. Store it in your garage on a shelf and not inside the vehicle. Any parts sitting inside the car at the time of an electromagnetic event are exposed to exactly the same pulse that just destroyed the vehicle electronics. Parts in the car die with the car. Parts on the shelf survive. After any electromagnetic event, the procedure takes under 15 minutes. Open your hood and locate the fuse box. Swap both relays from the tin into the matching relay sockets. Replace any visibly burned or discolored fuses with the fresh ones from your kit. Reconnect the battery terminal if it was disconnected during the event. Turn the ignition key. Most people around you will not know this repair is even possible.
Die 7. Schicht ist die Nachfragepipeline, die die meisten Analysten nicht modellieren können, weil sie in einer Technologieinfrastruktur sitzt, die vor 5 Jahren noch nicht existierte. Pro Gigawatt installierter Photovoltaikkapazität werden etwa 20 Tonnen Silber benötigt. Wenden Sie diesen Datenpunkt auf den globalen Aufbau von Hyperskala-Rechenzentren für künstliche Intelligenz an. Eine einzige Solaranlage von 500 Megawatt, genug um ein einziges KI-Hyperskala-Rechenzentrum zu versorgen, benötigt etwa 300 Tonnen Silber. 300 Tonnen pro KI-Campus. Goldman Sachs Forschung projiziert, dass die Stromnachfrage von Rechenzentren bis 2030 um etwa 165% steigen wird. Die Internationale Energieagentur erwartet, dass der Stromverbrauch von Rechenzentren bis Ende 2026 auf rund 1000 Terawattstunden steigt. Das sind 3–5% des globalen Stromverbrauchs. Der Bullenfall ist klar, aber lassen Sie mich auch den Bärenfall zeigen. Silber bei $79 liegt rund 35% unter dem Allzeithoch von $121,67, das am 29. Januar 2026 erreicht wurde. Das Iran-Memorandum ist nicht unterzeichnet. Teheran prüft noch. Wenn der Vorschlag scheitert, steigt der Ölpreis wieder. Die Inflation kehrt zurück. Die Fed friert ein. Und der Silberpapierpreis hält sein aktuelles Niveau. Mexikos Reservenerschöpfungszeitplan basiert auf statischen aktuellen Produktionsdaten. Höhere Silberpreise könnten marginale Lagerstätten wieder eröffnen, aber strukturell bleibt das Bild klar. Mexiko geht in 12 Monaten das Silber aus. Indien hat sein Haushaltssilber zu einem Verhältnis von 10:1 gegen Gold monetarisiert. Russland hat das erste offen erklärte Zentralbank-Silberreserveprogramm der modernen Geschichte eröffnet. China hat 60–70% des globalen Silberangebots hinter staatliche Lizenzen gestellt. Die COMEX-Futures-Kurve handelt vollständig unter dem Spotpreis. Und jedes neue KI-Rechenzentrum braucht 300 Tonnen Silber für seine Solarversorgung. Bleiben Sie informiert, bleiben Sie vorbereitet. Wir sehen uns morgen.